I wanted to talk about the Carpenters, Karen and Richard Carpenter. So, as you know, I grew up in Downey, California, home of the original McDonald's, the Carpenters, and Rockwell. So, let's see, in November of 1970, Karen and Richard Carpenter, along with their parents, purchased a house on Newville. 9828, I believe, is the address on Newville Street, and they paid $300,000 for a 5-bedroom house, over 3,000 square feet. It's a huge home. It was always in what we call the ritzy upscale section of Downey. All of Downey had amazing mid-century homes. I lived in 5 different homes in Downey. We moved a lot. My mother had us moving every 18 months. So my first house there in Downey was on Stamps Road. And I'm going to put a little map up right here of the distance between or from my house on Stamps Road to Newville, where the Carpenters lived. It was so close. It was just really over the main street there. And then I moved to another house in Diamond Bar, and that is a separate video. I have a story about that. You know, they divorced when I was 9, so from the time I was born until I was 11, I lived in 7 different homes. So when I was there in Downey growing up, you know, I have a story about the McDonald's, the original McDonald's, and how I would go to grab a burger and fries with my bestie, and then we would go to Middle Earth Records. I have that video linked in the description if you're interested. But Karen and Richard Carpenter, they went to Downey High School, and Karen was in the band. She was a drummer. And, you know, they went to my rival school. I went to Warren High School, and we didn't really talk much about it growing up. We just knew that they lived there, and, you know, we listened to their music all the time. Karen Carpenter's voice is so beautiful. It is one of a kind, unique. She's my dad's favorite female singer of all time. And we were always listening to the Carpenters because, you know, we were always listening to music. But in fact, my daughter, she has the same tone as Karen. So Karen Carpenter was a contralto singer, and I'm a soprano, but my daughter is a contralto singer. She has that tone that, you know, it's a lot lower on the scale for me, but I was trying to teach her the difference and for her to sing in her speaking voice, and I was using Karen Carpenter as an example. I have some excerpts of some of the Karen vocalization that I was teaching. I'll put them in here. You'll be able to hear, like, it's so flat in here. I don't like it. When I was young, I'd listen to the radio, waiting for my favorite song. When they played, I'd sing along. It made me smile. It's just so flat. That's really low. Let's see. When I was young, I'd listen to the radio. You can hear it a little bit, right? Instead of flat, waiting for my favorite song. When they played, I'd sing along. It made me smile. That's about as low as I can go. And then long ago and oh so far away. Oh, that's so low for me. I fell in love with you. Before the second show. That's too low for me. It's not. So growing up, knowing that Karen and Richard Carpenter were in our neighborhood, or, you know, were in Downey, we would go trick-or-treating at their house. So back in the 70s, you know, gosh, this had to be 74, 75, 76. So you're looking at, you know, kindergarten through 3rd or 4th grade. We would go to they called it the ritzy area because they were these 2-story homes, really big double garage, you know, pretty much what's staple now. But back then they were making single family homes, 1 level, sometimes just a carport. We always had a garage, but it was usually a 1-door garage. But anyway, we would go and there would be tons of people trick-or-treating in that area. They always gave the best candy. And so you go to Karen and Richard's door, trick-or-treat, and they were all out front, and they would be handing out 45s of their latest single. And you were lucky to get a single and candy from their house. It was fun. It was, I guess back then, when being so little, we kind of took it for granted because we were like, oh, we know that they are in a group and yay, they gave us their record and off we went to the next house. It was kids, you know, but now as an adult, I see the impact of that, and very generously were they giving out 45s of their latest, you know, record. I do not still have the records. I know. I moved so much even after that. After the divorce, my mom took most of the stuff. And I just am having a hard time, or I've had a hard time getting some things back. I was lucky enough to get the wedding photo album of theirs and my photo albums and a few things from school, but she just, I don't know, she just won't let go of some things. Even though she knows that it's important to me, she refuses to give them back. So I've made peace with that. I know that I'll never see them and I'll never get them again, but I have the experience and the memory of it. It was such it was an innocent time. You know, they were so popular. They were touring. They were on the radio constantly. They had their little segments on TV. I can't emphasize the importance of knowing that Karen and Richard Carpenter, still in their mega stardom, were still living in Downey. And I don't know, back then it wasn't this paparazzi thing. A celebrity was different in the 70s. It wasn't this, I've got to move to 90210 or Bel Air or wherever they're gonna, you know, Calabasas. They grew up there. They had roots there. They had friends and family. They chose to not let the Hollywood or the music machine get to their minds and steal their soul, that they still stayed within our community, and that was so great for us growing up. So I wanted to show you a little slideshow. I haven't been back by their house in so long. I know it's no longer in the family, but I do have some pictures. You can find pictures on the internet. But the nostalgia of going there and trick-or-treating at their house was something uniquely special to my generation and my community. I don't know that anyone else outside of the community knew about it. You don't really typically ask, hey, where are you from? You're trick-or-treating at the Carpenter's house. You just knew that everybody in Downey was going to that neighborhood, and we wanted to go by the Carpenter's house. So that was a really special time. I really wanted to share that with you, and let's take a look at the slideshow. It's such a shame that we lost Karen at such a young age, but her music will live on, and Richard he's been great about preserving their legacy and releasing their vinyl work onto CD, remastering it, and capturing the incredible voice of Karen Carpenter, and of course the Carpenter sound with him there on the piano and his backing vocals. You just get goosebumps when you listen to some of their songs, and they put you in such a good mood. It was such a significant sound of the time. If you want to know what the 70s sounded like and the feel, listen to the Carpenters. And so, like I said, we moved different houses within the city of Downey. And so after my parents' divorce, they sold the house on Guatemala, and we moved to a duplex on 5th Street. So on 5th Street, there is some houses and some apartments. So it's kind of a mix. Down at the west side of 5th Street were the 2 apartment complexes that the Carpenters owned. One was called Close to You, and the other one was called Only Just Begun. Now, so literally within that same strip, there was a signal here and a signal here, and I was here and they were here. So at the opposite ends of that street. Gosh, we used to walk, so I'm thinking we used to walk to the little liquor store down the street, High Home Market, and get snacks in the summer, and then walk back. And we used to pass both of those apartment complexes on the way to and on the way back. And I'm trying to remember how many actual houses we passed. You know, I can't really say. It was literally on the same street, just on one end to the other. So I was on the east side, the northeast side, and the apartments were on northwest and southwest of the street. I'll try and find a map. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find a map being so close, because it's literally like maybe 10, 12 properties apart. So that was a fun thing to always be walking past the apartment complexes that the Carpenters own. Now, the school that they used to go to, Downey High School, was just on the next street over. So you had Downey Avenue and Brookshire, and 5th Street ran in between those 2 main streets, I want to say, and it was literally like a hop, skip, and a jump away. Again, I'll try to find some map or have to draw a map to scale. So they went to Downey High School, my rival high school, and their apartment complexes were right over here. And you know, I don't recall anybody at Downey High talking about them going to the high school. Of course, that was in, you know, the late 60s when they were in school there, and I didn't go to high school until the very late 80s. So there was a long time passed between those 2 significant dates. But we do know, growing up, we knew that they went to Downey High School. And it was just, I don't know, it was just a part of growing up in Downey, you know, having the Carpenters' presence within your neighborhood, your community.